And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. Today joined by Erica and Josh. We've received a barrage of news leading into the presidential inauguration coming in on Monday. Topics include Biden's farewell message, ceasefire deal, rapid fire confirmation hearings. I got some of the best clips for you guys here. And then even a little TikTok ban, little Mel Gibson. There's a lot coming up here. But I'd like to first give a warm welcome to everyone here live in the chat. Also, we are streaming now to the Instagram of the LOOPcast channel. So if you're first time joining in here, welcome. We welcome you guys. We see your comments as well. Main place is YouTube if you want to pop over, but Rumble, X, all that good stuff. One favor just to ask before we get into the show, if you could subscribe, if you're not subscribing on YouTube, we will be providing coverage for inauguration on the ground. So we're going to be filming content. Josh is going to be there Saturday. We're going to have all our thoughts ready for that Wednesday episode. We will not be recording on Monday, but there will be tons of fun bonus content as I'm going to DC and going to deliver all the observations, talk to people on the street. It's going to be a good time. Looking forward to it.
Tom in the swamp. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm going to be sitting at home with my popcorn watching. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even,
so excited.
Just to even preface the Biden farewell message, it's crazy how different everything feels going into inauguration. I mean, I remember, a young man myself, I was in college. I believe I was a freshman in college, 2015, 2016. And I remember Trump had such a bombastic run leading up to getting elected. Even if you look back to how he acted during the primaries and the debate with Hillary Clinton, hilarious clips, right? But just eviscerated people. And I think there's a lot of people genuinely nervous, even if cautiously optimistic going into this, to the point where major performers weren't performing at the inauguration. It didn't feel like the usual kind of yuck it up. This is going to be great. I can't express how different this year feels. I mean, Carrie Underwood performing, everyone's super excited. Josh, I know you had something you wanted to say on that, but just crazy how it feels going into this.
Well, yeah, and I think part of the reason why is that, when he won the first time, it was thought of as a fluke because he won the blue wall. He didn't win the electoral college. He won the electoral college victory, but he didn't win the popular vote, which I know doesn't matter legally, but it does matter in terms of a mandate, what the American people think. I mean, he won Michigan in 2016 by like 11,000 votes. So people felt like, what? How did this?
Yeah.
It's like he snuck in. This wasn't supposed to happen. And so it didn't feel as legitimate, even if it obviously was, because the media was trying to undermine him from day one. And he didn't get that bump in the polls afterwards where people are like, okay, well, this is our guy now, because there was all those protests, we resist all throughout, in DC and in
a lot of election denial.
Major cities. Yeah. And it was just
put that out
it was crazy. This time along, I thought, well, gosh, if he wins, are there going to be like lots of protests leading up to it? It's not really I haven't heard anything hardly.
Nothing.
And he also won decisively. So the left doesn't have that rhetorical advantage to say, well, he only won because he snuck in somehow. It's like, no, actually, more Americans wanted Trump than Kamala Harris, period. End of story. So it changes everything. And that's why I kept telling people as the run up to this election, like people are like, well, I'm from California. I don't know. Trump kind of bothers me. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter who you vote for, even if it doesn't, quote, matter. Like It does have a difference. Like, if there's a lot of conservatives in California who said, you know what, I don't care if my vote counts or not. I'm going to vote for this guy because I want to push back against the left. And it's made a difference. It's not like he snuck in. He won decisively.
Yeah,
I think it does matter.
I'll never forget the Jake Tapper moment on election night when he asked to see the breakdown of all the counties in the United States. And he's like, well, show me all the counties where Republicans and Democrats made gains this election. And up comes the map and it's all red. And he's like, wait, not one county? And then sure enough, the whole country swung red. Even if Biden or Harris, whoever was running, I'm not sure. Even if Harris had won, the vote in a certain county, the momentum was all red. And so it absolutely mattered. And yeah, I agree. The vibe is shifted. And we've got, who's going to be up on stage? Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuck, Bezos, all the boys.
Oligarchs.
Oligarchs, as is known. So, and then that gets into the farewell message. This is a custom, as I understand it. I'm curious, Josh, your perspective on how his farewell address stacked up to previous presidents. I actually didn't go back and listen to Trump's. I should have. But I would say he gave his final address from the Oval Office on Wednesday. He was addressing the people for the last time as president. Used the first half to kind of poetically list the accomplishments of his administration. But then the second half got a little dark, as I would say.
Look, I mean, most presidential farewell addresses are kind of forgotten. I mean, George Washington had one that was epic. So did Dwight Eisenhower. But after that, you're really, I thought Reagan's was really good in 1989. But then after that, it's like, whatever. Carter's was like an attempt to try to, it wasn't so bad, was it? I mean, Biden, it's the biggest thing with it is totally forgettable. Like, I mean, I'm a political junkie. I'm like, oh, he gave a speech. Who cares? I
Right.
mean, it's the
Right.
presidency that everyone wants to move past. Everyone has been in this country and in the media has been acting as if Trump has already been president. When people get the news that he's on Monday that he's sworn in as president, people are like, I thought he's already been
I
president
thought
for
he
a
was
couple of
there.
months.
Yeah.
I honestly, that's what people will say because that's exactly how it has felt, all year.
It sure does in the Middle East. I mean, Trump secured a ceasefire
Oh
and he's
my
not even
gosh.
president yet. So
It's
we'll get
crazy.
into that a little bit. But I did want to share a bit from the farewell speech. This warning of an oligarchy forming in America. I can almost not say it with a straight face. Go ahead.
I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. The dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. Just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. They were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. We've got to do that again.
Yeah.
This guy has spent 50 years building up the big state, the deep state, and his administration colluded with social media companies like Facebook, to make sure that we were spying on Americans and censoring our free speech. But, he's going to warn us about these great, big, powerful oligarchies. Like, dude,
Right.
you are the power.
Yeah.
You were the guy that was shutting people out. You were the guy that wanted to make it so that every person in the country practically who was employed would have to get the shot. Like, just because you signed a pen. Like, this guy. Watch out,
Well,
there's tyrants all around.
yeah.
Bro, look here.
It's you. Look in the mirror. Yeah, I mean, we think about how the Biden family got their money. I mean, it's like the definition of oligarchy going on there. And he gave the Presidential Medal for the highest civilian award to George Soros. So it was really, this was just, it was a pathetic, failed exit speech by a failed president. And I mean, he's just going off. I was trying to figure out what movie character he reminds me of. Was it Dennis or I think it's that crazy Alec Guinness guy in The Bridge Over the River Kwai. He just doesn't even know that he's the villain. He doesn't even, because he's senile.
I don't think he knows a lot,
He didn't
unfortunately.
write that.
It's
and it was so
I would
pathetic.
say it's been generally the most interesting part about the Biden late years and the Biden presidency and his entire career in politics, of course, as you said, how he made his money. I think his net worth took a big hit when Hunter Biden's paintings actually got lost in the LA fires. Those are pretty valuable. Some would even say priceless. But so his mental acuity obviously crumbling, and now some Democrats are even coming out and saying, oh, sometimes he would Schumer literally just got on tape and said, sometimes he would call me and not know why he called me. And I was like, well, that's kind of relatable. Sometimes I do that. But he would just bumble.
But he's the leader of the free world.
It'd be one, yeah, right. It'd be one thing if
He
it's
has
your
assistants who
friend.
could tell him, you're calling Schumer to ask him about the tax bill.
But it's so clear to me that he's just being led around, fed what to say. And in some ways, I think really important that people got to witness the biggest cover-up campaign of all time of covering his mental acuity, paired with these really bizarre statements towards the end of Americans drowning under misinformation. I think he called for an 18-year term limit for SCOTUS, free press is crumbling because there aren't fact checkers anymore. Honestly, my take on that is like, it kind of sounded like an ex-girlfriend scorned. Like he was boys with Zuckerberg and all the tech people, and then he goes on podcasts and kind of rips them and be like, oh yeah, he actually was coercive and I don't like him. And now he's kind of coming out like, screw you.
I mean, I love that 18-year term limit on Supreme Court justices. I mean, the guy spent, his entire career in the Senate to push, to torpedo good, solid judicial picks like Bork and Thomas. And then finally, after, decades and decades of, conservatives being able to get the court to a decent, I mean, they call it 6-3. I mean, let's be honest, it's like 5.5. And now it's like, oh, now you guys like term limits, or you want to expand the Supreme Court. Like, hey, actually, why don't we expand this? I mean, that was what the Democrat from Oregon said. Let's expand the court to 15 seats. Why don't we do it right now?
Yeah, today sounds good.
It's such a good idea. Let's vote on it today.
Right. Well, I'd have to say my favorite tweet.
For thee and not for me.
My favorite tweet on this was from Rich Lowry. He said, Washington's farewell address, avoid entangling alliances. Biden's farewell address, I don't like Meta's new moderation policy.
Yeah.
That's like underselling it. Guys.
He complained about getting rid of the fact checkers on Meta. I'm like, okay, how?
I don't like that Meta's not colluding with the feds anymore. That's what it is.
And then the money thing and the oligarchy thing, hilarious, because I think everyone understood maybe until 2 seconds ago, and Biden probably understands, just lied about it. All these tech people donated heavily to Democrats. If you look at the leadership at Meta, Google, all these Alphabet, they all majority donate. They raised $1 billion for Kamala Harris.
Right.
You blew $1 billion. It's like blowing the biggest lead ever, and now kind of angrily lamenting about that at the end. And it's just like a perfect ending. I mean, the only thing I could say is more perfect was this ceasefire deal that had been on the table for 8 months that he couldn't get done, and he needed a real estate guy to come from Las Vegas to go figure it out. But we'll get into that in a second. One thing that I think is important to address here is we have this stopped coerced abortions. Josh, you did a live stream last night, and I want to give you an opportunity to share what we got going on with everyone.
Well, it's actually a very important legal case. We've been working behind the scenes for many, many years to get this ready. There's a bunch of heroic women who have decided to step forward and say, wait a minute, I had no idea, because they're in Minnesota, and Minnesota removed all protections, all information. So these women who ended up getting abortions, there's nothing they can do to get their babies back, unfortunately. But what they've said is they were duped. They were misled. They weren't given any information. They felt like, they signed, come in here and sign this waiver, all their rights are gone. And what we're trying to do, these courageous women have found, there's these lawyers that have decided to step up to the plate. They're going to represent these poor moms for completely free. They're not going to, these moms aren't going to be charged a single dime. And to make sure that people hear what's going on with this, because Planned Parenthood is lying to them. The state of Minnesota removed every single protection. You talk about sanctuary cities, right, on illegal immigration. Minnesota is a sanctuary city with regards to abortion.
Right.
So, you try to pull, you pull a fast one on anyone, come to Minnesota, they'll protect you. They won't do any extradition. It's an absolute crazy law that, Minnesota has. Used to be pro-life Minnesota, many decades ago. They've went almost as far as California or even further. And so there's these courageous women who have stepped up to the plate. You read these stories and you will break down and cry. It is gut-wrenching. And what we're trying to do is, these lawyers have stepped up to the plate. There's some donors that have funded this case for many, many years. Now it's at the point where we filed the case has been filed. This is not a Catholic vote case. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand it. These lawyers have stepped up to the plate. They're filing this case on behalf of these mothers. The members of Catholic Vote, we have decided we're going to step up to the plate and try to help out these moms. And there's a really cool thing. A donor stepped forward and said, I will match every dollar coming from a Catholic Vote member, and a member of Catholic Vote, every dollar they donate, I will match it dollar for dollar up to $500,000. And the reason why that much resources are going to be unlocked, if we can do this, it's so important. I mean, you want to talk about a David versus Goliath story. These moms are going up against Planned Parenthood. I don't need to tell you, they fly in all their top lawyers from New York. Mm-hmm. They've got hundreds of millions of dollars in their war chest because, of course, Unfortunately, Uncle Sam subsidizes this organization, this notorious organization. So they've got practically unlimited money, unlimited lawyers. They hire, the most expensive lawyers you'd ever see. And then the state of Minnesota, all of their attorneys, the Attorney General's office, they're all on the side of Planned Parenthood. So really, you want to talk about a David versus Goliath story, but I'll tell you, the lawyers that have stepped up to the case on this are the absolute best pro-life lawyers. They've argued in circuit courts all across the country before the Supreme Court. They know the law, they know it cold, and they are ready to fight on behalf of these women. They've been with the women. As they've handed in their affidavits, their sworn testimonies. I mean, the women handing the affidavit, here you go, I've just signed it. This is my witness. I'm going to test it. This is my testimony. And the lawyer looked at it, he told me, he goes, there were tears from this woman on every page of her testimony. So it's a gut-wrenching story. I'd like to encourage everyone to go to the website. You can make a donation today, tomorrow, but the time is of the essence. We got to make sure we can get this match. If you want to give a one-time gift, that'll get matched. If you want to give a 12-month gift, if you make the pledge now, all 12 months will be matched. So even if you can't do it right now, you can make that over 12 months that your pledge. So I really would like to encourage people. Now, I'll make sure I get the correct.
We have the link in the chat. We have the link in the chat. Go ahead in the chat in the description. It's stoppedcoercedabortions.com is where you can find more about it. And the link will be everywhere. I can't think of a more important thing to support, honestly. Proud to be a part of an organization that gets to get the word out on this and help these mothers out. So
yeah, I just want to say too, this is why I'm so proud and humbled to work for Catholic Vote, honestly, because we actually do stuff. This organization actually takes concrete steps to make changes and to save lives. And this is the most important thing that we do is get better life for these women. So
unlike our election work, which is obviously also very important, this is a legal case. And so therefore, any donation that's made at stopcoercedabortions.com is tax deductible to the fullest extent of the law. So I know that makes a difference for some people.
C3, baby.
So you can make a tax deductible donation for this cause, and we could really use your help.
501c3. Thank you, Josh, for that pitch. Getting on now, and I'm so glad we have Erica on the show for this. So we have a ceasefire. And Erica's very international focused, which honestly adds a great element to the show. But as more of a domestic guy myself, quick rundown. After 14 months of deadly violence, Israel and Hamas have reached a ceasefire hostage deal. I have a copy of the proposed draft. Of course, it's set to go into effect Sunday, January 19th, so there's still bombing going on. There's still fighting going on. But until then, according to the Qatari prime minister, and someone put this in the chat in the notes to mess me up, and I grew up near Dearborn, so here we go. Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Pogo.
The deal stipulates that Israeli forces will withdraw from the Gaza border and humanitarian aid will be brought to Gaza's enclave. Additionally, Hamas will release 33 hostages in exchange for 100 Palestinian prisoners. Ceasefire announcement comes just days before the inauguration. President-elect Donald Trump, who said in a January 15th Truth Social post that winning the November election was crucial to making the ceasefire deal possible. Now, note before I get to Erica, this was the same proposed deal that was available for Biden for about 8 months. And even the Israel Times themselves said that the reason this was able to get done was because President Trump swayed Bibi Netanyahu more in one meeting than Biden did his entire presidency. That's not coming from me. That's coming straight from the Middle East, not coming from a domestic source. So really, when you talk about how humiliating the final message was, nothing to me could be more humiliating and honestly deadly if you talk about peace internationally than just the lack of agency that we saw from the president's desk. So Erica, thoughts on this in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough deal in a way, and what's going into effect this weekend, hopefully Hamas has actually in just the last 24 hours come back with more demands. So we'll see if it actually happens. What goes into effect this weekend is phase 1 of a 3-phase deal. when it comes to international deals like this, hostage exchanges that have phases, you usually only get phase one. So the only hostages who will be returned in the first phase, these 33 are women and children, a few elderly, and we assume the 7 Americans who are still being held over there. We don't actually know.
I thought it was
Hamas
only
has
2
not.
Americans in the first batch, but I might be mistaken. But anyway,
Americans nonetheless, which
Yeah.
is completely outrageous that we don't have all of them out of there. from
Yeah,
my
I
perspective.
believe there are still 7. It might be 5. You're right, Josh. We might have gotten 2 back already. But at the same time, we don't know if they're alive even. Hamas has not verified whether they're linked. So we might be just getting bodies back. We'll have to wait and see what actually transpires over the weekend. But I think absolutely, I mean, this is the result of Trump coming in. And we heard him just a week ago saying, if there's not a deal by the time I take office on the 20th, all hell will break loose. And his message to Hamas has been, this is the best deal you're going to get. Because it wasn't just Bibi Netanyahu who was holding back. Hamas was like, nope, no, we want full control of the Gaza Strip. We want Israel to get out of the corridor. We want all of the millions of dollars so that we can make more terrorist tunnels or whatever. So they're holding back too. And Trump comes in, he's like, no, guys, this is it. This is it. Best you're going to do.
Yeah.
And so we actually had people over in Qatar meeting, and we got this deal. And of course, the Biden administration comes right out. Karine Jean-Pierre, Biden, Kamala Harris showed up too to be like, look what we did. In the last moments of our power, we have made this deal. It had nothing to do with them at all.
Just to add on to KJP, she gave her final press conference, and nothing, I think, speaks volumes about who's responsible for this deal more than this. So she actually blocked John Kirby from briefing the press on the ceasefire. She didn't allow him to come out. She answered no questions on it.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the spokesman for the State Department.
Right.
Right.
So
right.
what does this signify to me?
No questions on anything. I just want to.
It signifies that the Biden administration had little to no responsibility for what we just saw in the Middle East. I mean, again, this guy's Steve Witkoff, right? He was in this special envoy sent to the Middle East, and I can't emphasize like how much of a dichotomy.
And he's the Trump guy. Just to
he's
be
the Trump guy. So yeah. I want to just, and this has been my experience talking to some Trump officials as well, is Trump appoints businessmen. And to the international community, people are nervous about that because they're not the typical diplomats that you see engaged in these kind of negotiations. I cannot emphasize enough. Steve Witkoff developed hotels in Las Vegas, hotels and casinos. Not to say that's not impressive, but typically not a guy you send to the Middle East to go get a peace deal done.
I don't know. Vegas.
I think we should start if this is going to happen.
Let's be honest. Vegas, a lot of mob ties. So
true.
It's not a picnic.
No,
Vegas
you can deal in Vegas.
I actually think that there's a lot of it, and I think it actually speaks to the idea of businessmen going abroad and dealing with other countries from a business perspective of getting things done. I think the diplomat who was responsible for this before was an Obama alum. He's been in that position for about 20 years. He was responsible for working on this deal, and nothing got done. It's like nothing could say why people put Trump into office more than...
Because for those people, the purpose, the whole point of it isn't actually to try to get something done. It's just to serve in that office and have that title. And if they get something done, that's a bonus. It's like it's like the frosting on the cupcake.
Totally.
But for Trump's guys, it's like, well, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? Oh, well, it's always the way it's been. Well, that sounds dumb. Let's try something new.
And get stuff done. Love it.
I'm looking forward to this. Going forward because, and I think Ukraine's next personally, because really the United States, who are we kidding? We have the power to enforce peace globally. I'm not saying we should be the world police, but I'm saying we have this way. We fund, actually, ironically, fund kind of both sides of this war, made a lot of mistakes internationally.
True that.
But we're definitely a big time funder of Israel. And for Witkoff to go, I believe Bibi Netanyahu was like, I'm not going to meet with you. It's a Sabbath or whatever. And direct quote from Witkoff's like, I have no interest in the Sabbath. You're going to meet me before Trump gets in office.
I'm not a particular fan of that, but I hear you. I do think it's interesting though. Like the ramifications. I mean, I think for Donald Trump, he's like, I want peace because look, the voters in Dearborn, Michigan flipped away from Biden to him. A lot of Muslim Americans. And so like, I think for Trump, it's like, I want this to end. This has got to stop. In general, he's got a bias towards peace. And he got a mandate on that.
Same.
That's how that helped him win Michigan. No question.
Yeah. Same. I have a bias towards peace as well, and I'd like to see that happen in Ukraine. And I think he's signaled that that's going to be happening as well. If you look at his meetings with Zelensky and prior
Signs
things,
are promising.
the Americans
Do
want
it.
peace, and we have
Do
the
it.
power to do it. So let's go do it.
Yeah, apparently he had a phone call last night with Xi Jinping out of China. And on his Truth Social, he posted, "We talked about many things. We talked about the fentanyl. We talked about the chips. We talked about the everything. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful era." It was great. I'm like, you're already on the phone with him. I bet the last time Biden was on the phone with any world leader was like, well, that he was conscious of being on the phone was when Hunter needed a loan out of Putin
Seriously.
or somebody. I don't know.
When he
It
was
was-
lying about saying that he never met with Chinese businessmen, when the pictures
Oh.
came out of him shaking the hands of all these energy executives in China.
Awkward. Just
Very awkward. But speaking of, I think that's a good segue because we have so much to get to today. We had a rapid fire of confirmation hearings for multiple
Yes.
different positions. I kind of grabbed clips that I thought described a lot of them well, and probably so we had Pam Bondi, we had for Attorney General, Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary, Ratcliffe, Kristi Noem's coming up today. We'll see. I see someone threw something in here. I haven't seen any that's happening this morning. Sean Duffy. I mean, if you want to get a little bit of a delightful break, I mean, the Sean Duffy hearing was just adorable. Catholic guy from Wisconsin brought his entire family, except I think one was missing, but he has 9 kids.
9 kids, yeah.
I can't get over it. I have to show this clip because it just makes me smile. He's got his entire family behind him. And as you can see in this bottom left corner, his youngest daughter, who he says is the favorite of the family, has Down syndrome. I'll just play this clip. I think this will be a good kind of delightful break, but I'm excited for Sean.
Kind of unique. Not most people have that. We've been married for 25 years. Rachel is the love of my life. She's my best friend, and she is a wonderful, incredible mother to our 9 children. 8 of them are here today with us. If I could introduce them to the committee, my oldest is Evita. She's right here. Her husband, Michael. My daughter, Lucia Belen. John Paul. Paloma. Maria Victoria. She also goes by Mud, her choice.
So cute.
Margarita, Patrick, and Valentina. Now, my youngest is Valentina. She was born with Down syndrome, and she no doubt is our family's favorite. She was hugging Senator Baldwin on the way in, showing great bipartisan love. Hopefully she'll be behaved for the hearing today.
It was awesome.
By the way, I love it. That is so sweet. And then
No.
the one daughter, Maria
Maria
Victoria.
Valentina?
No, what was the one before, though?
Victoria?
Victoria, they named her after Our Lady of Victory, and that was the first time he ran for Congress.
Strong.
Boss. That is great.
But anyway, that was adorable. I would say one thing is Rubio for Secretary of State. And then honestly, Scott Bessent was maybe my favorite hearing.
He was great.
His clarity of thought. He was one guy that was kind of a question mark. I think a lot of people weren't really sure about him. Maybe not as much of a traditional pick. And I would say his clip that he had on the clean energy race was just a perfect encapsulation of what I'm talking about diplomats to businessmen. Here we go.
Big effort in the Trump administration to reverse it. I think that's going to be bad for the economy, but it is going to be damn good for China because we are in an arms race on clean energy with them. Are you going to be on the side of people who want to unravel this?
Senator Wyden, just so we can frame this for everyone in the room, China will build 100 new coal plants this year. There is not a clean energy race. There is an energy race. China will build 10 nuclear plants this year. That is not solar. I am in favor of more nuclear plants. And I would note that the IRA, as scored by the CBO, is wildly out of control in terms of spending on the upside.
Well, now there is a big
Yeah, I mean, it's, in terms of his qualifications, Bessent is phenomenal. And he understands, by the way, the debt crisis that we're facing. Like, there's some interesting things that are going on. Like, we in the Biden administration, we spent so much money, not just, if you just took out like 1 year for COVID for each of the presidents, but even after that, he just kept spending and spending and spending. And in order to finance that debt, you issue these 10-year treasuries. Well, the 10-year treasuries are starting to like fall. They're not, or the cost. In other words, the amount of people who are willing to buy them are declining because they're switching away from that to like gold or Bitcoin or whatever. And this is a big problem if it becomes that much more expensive for us to finance our debt, because
It's essentially buying American debt would be like the easiest way to
exactly
describe it. Yeah.
it's going to be much, much, much more expensive. Right now, we're kind of in this great spot where other countries, if you're like some tiny country, you're like, am I going to trade with this country? And how can I trust that their currency is going to be worth anything? They know U.S. Treasuries, guaranteed. I know it's a solid investment. So we're actually able to, as a country, borrow more than we probably should, precisely because we're a reserve currency. But that's going to be a problem if a lot of these international investors are like, I don't know. I think the United States has a little bit too much debt, actually. And so they are a little concerned. This guy understands it. And so in terms of qualifications and understanding, that's an underrated problem. And I think I give my credit to Steve Bissett for understanding that. I do have to say, I'm not going to hold back in other ways. I mean, this man is married to another man and he had children through IVF. I think that's immoral. I'm going to still say it, I'm the only one in the entire room who thinks that. I know we're in the minority position on that, but I'm still going to preach and teach the, human dignity but that's a fight for today and for another day. But as far as this guy, in terms of the qualifications and understanding what's at stake, he does understand the moment from an energy perspective, but also, like I said, the debt crisis thing, which again, not the sexiest headline in the world. What debt? What? No one ever cares about it. Everyone's been complaining about it for years. Well, the bills come and kind of do, actually. So we need people who are creative and understand what we need to do, because the current Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Talk about like a big time upgrade on Sean Duffy with Pete Buttigieg and Janet Yellen.
Oh, all of these are big time upgrades. I mean, look at the lineup. This is fantastic. I loved Marco Rubio's opening statement. I thought he did a great job. It wasn't as sexy, it wasn't as like fireworks as Pete Hegseth, of course, but this guy nailed it. Gotta love it. Do you have a clip for us?
Loopcast alum as well.
Ooh,
We're at the top.
That's right. That's
the
right.
ramp on him is that he's not the smartest guy in the world. Like, I don't know where that comes from. I mean, he's able to speak off the cuff in a way that's super intelligent. Again, it's nice to be underrated. I think Marco Rubio's hit it out of the park.
Here's the clip that came out of it the most, probably.
If we stay on the road we're on right now, less than 10 years, virtually everything that matters to us in life will depend on whether China will allow us to have it or not. Yes. Everything from the blood pressure medicine we take to what movies we get to watch, and everything in between, we will depend on China for it. They have come to dominate the critical mineral industry supplies throughout the world. Everywhere in the world, they've now established critical mineral rights. Even those who want to see more electric cars, no matter where you make them, those batteries are almost entirely dependent on the ability of the Chinese and the willingness of the Chinese Communist Party to produce it and export it to you. So if we don't change course, we are going to live in a world where much of what matters to us on a daily basis, from our security to our health, will be dependent on whether the Chinese allow us to have it or not.
That doesn't sound like independence to me, as we coming up on the 250th anniversary of our independence. Like, are we independent if we're relying on China for all this kind of stuff? And, he hit it out of the park. Actually, by the way, that's what the whole thing about Greenland is about. Mm-hmm. It's about trade channels and
national security
that Greenland has that, we don't want China to gobble all this stuff up.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and Rubio, I thought he did such a wonderful job articulating in his opening the difference between isolationism, which people are accusing Trump of going for, and the crazy foreign policy that we've suffered through for the last 4 years of just not even having one, and just articulating that every other country on earth acts first in terms of its sovereign interests. And the United States has not been doing that. And he called out, basically like slammed down the neocons, and said, we can't save the whole world. We have to put America first. And I thought he did a great job of articulating that. So, this is why we voted for Trump. This is what winning looks like, people. Yeah. These are great.
I have
Music to our ears.
I have 2 points on that. Everyone who was an Obama era leader of the world, I think of Merkel in Germany. I think of who's the guy in Trudeau, who was in England, Boris Johnson. All of those people are gone now. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's because what Marco Rubio is saying is true. I think of in Germany when they basically just allowed their entire supply of energy to become dependent on Russia. And then all of a sudden Russia goes to war and they have no energy. I can't think of a more like country first perspective than that. And all of those leaders are gone now. And so I think this kind of lends to, and I want to get into Pam Bondi too, because I think she did a great job talking about the Department of Justice. But the problem I see with Democrats' ability to question a lot of these nominees is all of their attack lines are on the most frivolous elements, like things that actually don't matter to Americans, to the point where Americans clearly, with a popular vote, elected Donald Trump with a mandate to address actual problems. So it kind of makes the people questioning look ridiculous. I know it happens in other cases, but I think especially so in this batch, all of the nominees are dead on real problems, things of substance. And because there's I don't even think Democrats disagree with a lot of these things on substance. They just attack really weird fringe, and it makes them kind of look ridiculous. So again, 4G chess, but that would be my
I feel like the game has been like, there must have been some sort of a memo that went out to all of Trump's guys who are going forward to the Senate, like no holds barred. Because
Right.
I mean, the previous way Republicans did this, even when Trump won, but certainly when Bush put up his candidates, like, be very respectful to the senators in the
Deferential.
process and all this other stuff. And like a sudden they realized, wait a minute, I don't get any extra credit for getting a 54th vote here. Like, forget this.
Right.
Like, why are we trying? So like Bessent being like, yeah, we're not in a clean energy race with China. We're in an energy race. They're building nuclear plants. They're building coal plants. What are you talking about? We're getting this pushback, which is nice to see. Like, oh, like when Hegseth was attacked for the oh, you mean the tattoo I have? That's just like the symbol that was on Jimmy Carter's, funeral program. Like,
So refreshing.
these guys are just pushing back. It's delightful to see. And frankly, I worry about any Republican who votes against one of these candidates, because the fact is, under Joe Biden's picks, like Lloyd Austin, Alejandro Mayorkas, these absolute imbeciles that were wretched when they were in power, got dozens of Republican senators vote for him. And then you got Lisa Murkowski, Alaska, supposedly a Republican. Well, I don't know if I've made up my mind yet. I'll have to see. Are you kidding me? Like, unless somebody came out, I mean, like they murdered somebody. Like, what? How could they possibly be as incompetent as
You voted for Lloyd Austin, Lisa.
I mean, give me a break. Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this.
Wow.
Josh, I have a song lyric for you. It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new life for me. These Republicans need to get in line or they are gone.
That song comes on in Target now, and I'm like,
whole new meaning.
my dark MAGA hat.
I'm going to share the Pam Bondi. No one did it better than Pam Bondi, I think, partially because she has an experience as a litigator doing this kind of thing. She torched everyone who questioned her. I think it's actually important. Josh, you bring up an interesting point about the former decorum going into these. Because we live in a new social media era of clips, and PR is easier than ever to get. It's actually important to we've mentioned the attractiveness of some of these. I mean, Pam Bondi's 60. That is a shocking way to look for being 6 years old. I mean, there's also senators who are 60 who do not look like that.
Maybe they did find that fountain of youth in Florida.
I think they did. Ponce de Leon, man. I mean,
chugging it.
But for the American people, because some of the policies they're going to do are going to be controversial, they need the support of the American people to do so. If they don't communicate clearly to the American people about how, why, and exactly how things are going to be executed, it's not going to work. And I think you actually saw that with the Biden administration doing a really terrible job communicating and oftentimes lying about things that they tried to roll out, and they got skewered for it. So I think the Trump.
Well, they got lazy, Tom. I mean, what they didn't. The press did all their PR for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a great point. So here's Pam. I thought my favorite part from your hearing. Here we go.
Said that Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted in the Trump administration. What Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted and why?
I said that on TV. I said prosecutors will be prosecuted to finish the quote, if bad. Investigators will be investigated. You know, we all take an oath, Senator, to uphold the law. None of us are above the law. Let me give you a really good example of a bad lawyer within the Justice Department, a guy named Klein Smith, who altered a FISA warrant, one of the most important things we can do in this country. So will everyone be held to an equal, fair system of justice if I am the next Attorney General? Absolutely. And no one is above the law.
Under what circumstances will you prosecute journalists for what they write?
What?
I believe in the freedom of speech. Only if anyone commits a crime. It's pretty basic, Senator, with anything, with any victim. And this goes back to my entire career for 18 years as a prosecutor and then 8 years as Florida's Attorney General. You find the facts of the case, you apply the law in good faith, and you treat everyone fairly.
Sounds good to me.
Like, no
Common
doubt.
sense.
Like, hello, obviously.
What's wrong with him? White House.
You know, it's like, I mean, do we not want to go after journalists? I mean, there's the editorial cartoonist from the Washington Post that had, you know, child pornography on his computer. Should we not go after him because it's, you know, what is it? The hell is he getting at here with this? But Pam Bondi had some other quotes as well, talking about how the FBI and the DOJ were targeting Catholics. And so we made note of that by sending an action alert to everyone on our Catholic vote. But yeah, we cannot wait for her to be confirmed and to be the next Attorney General. She's fantastic.
Yeah. Did anyone ask her about her skincare routine? Not to be shallow. I mean, I'm just going to like put that out there. This is a failure of our representative democracy that no one found out what she does. That's incredible. She's 60.
Kirsten Gillibrand could use it because she used to look great like 5 years ago, and then now she looks haggard, and she's still younger than Pam Bondi.
Yeah. Gillibrand really should have dug into that one.
Evil really does a lot to your soul and physical appearance. I will say who got dunked on the most probably out of this, Adam Schiff in multiple hearings was getting dunked on. I think for the John Ratcliffe one was my favorite, where he like pretty clearly, it's not even a subtweet, just didn't say exactly who it was.
In 2020, when a chairman of an intelligence committee misrepresented that a laptop owned by then candidate Biden's son was somehow a Russian intelligence operation, and 51 former intelligence officials used the imprimatur of IC authority to go along with that. I stood in the breach. I stood alone and told the American people the truth about that. Facts. So I think my record in terms of speaking truth to power and defending the intelligence community and its good work is very clear. And what I can assure you is those types of instances, if I'm in that position as CIA director and have to do that again, as uncomfortable as that can be, to be accused, you know, the truth will ultimately defend itself, and I think that that intelligence will as well.
Yes,
well, the truth will exonerate you. It won't defend itself.
It will set you free.
But yeah,
I'm thinking we're back.
This feels good. This is great.
This feels good. I do feel good.
But
what?
I'm gonna enjoy the feeling right now. Next week, back to work. But right now, like, let's just enjoy Inauguration Day, y'all.
Someone put together a clip of all the 4 female senators just berating Hegseth.
I saw that.
You can't really share it on it because it's nonsense. It just, you can't even understand it. But it just, it face in the middle, he's just like blank stare.
Like every man has been there before. Yeah.
Oh man.
For sure. Well, hey, the next thing that I saw that I thought would be worth talking about here before we get into Twilight Zone is I don't think anyone really knows what this means per se, but it's fun to talk about. Trump has named Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Jon Voight as special ambassadors to troubled Hollywood. They'll bring lost business back. I think the position is to bring about a new golden age of Hollywood. I think is specifically what it is. Thoughts?
This is delightful. I mean, it's obviously
so Trump. Look at these guys.
his point to make this is that like Hollywood is practically a foreign country. That's why we need emissaries and ambassadors to this foreign land of Hollywood. Mel Gibson yucked it up pretty well. He's like, I just lost my house. Is there some sort of a new embassy
An
I can get
ambassador's
for
home?
an
Yeah.
ambassador to Hollywood?
Oh gosh, man,
Oh,
prayers for all
man.
those people. Yeah, I mean, these guys they're great. I did not know that Rocky Balboa was Man Trump, but there we have
Oh,
it.
he's been
Yeah.
down at Mar-a-Lago a ton. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah,
That's
Trump
great.
guy for sure. I mean, I have to say, if you want to put up pound for pound, I mean, all these guys are responsible for so many bangers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how do you get past Rocky? Mel Gibson, of course, so many good movies. John Voight still act. All these guys are old. These guys are
I
like,
know. It's like the geriatric oligarchy going on here. It's if you can, I'm like,
Hey, they've
can we
aged
find
like
any-
fine wine. Hey, you know.
That's right. That's right.
So Josh, are you saying this is just like a kind of a fun middle finger to throw to people? You don't think anything's going to come of this?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that nothing will come of it. I mean, they might be, he might invite them to the White House. He might try to throw some, money from somewhere to try to, help out. Like, I don't know. I mean, like try to tap into the money that we give to the arts to kind of fund conservative filmmakers. Who knows? Like something could happen. We'll see.
I'd just take good movies again. The more I see about the uphill battle that Tom Cruise had to make Top Gun 2, I think they were saying that they wouldn't let him release it. They were going to go straight to streaming, and he moved hell. Like, he moved heaven and earth to get this thing out.
And what an awesome movie that is.
Right. So I wonder if we could it would be nice to get some of those guys in. I feel like they already probably are in power positions, not Mel anymore, but
there's a lot of other
Stallone
people in
probably.
Hollywood that will help out. I mean, there are I mean, I always try to remind people about this. Like, okay, so the city of New York, right? New York City has 10 million people, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's so liberal. I mean, it's like only like 30% Republican. Well, yeah, that means there's 300,000 Republicans in that city. Okay.
Yeah.
Now in Hollywood, like, yes, is it super liberal? Yes, it's super liberal. But are you telling me that every single human there is a liberal? No. And frankly, a lot of them got hit by reality with all these. I mean, like, again, I feel for the people,
With the fires,
but
yeah.
the political leadership, I mean, you have neighborhoods and then there's, their reservoir. It's been,
Empty.
empty for over a year. So people are waking up in LA. So yeah, I
Hopefully.
absolutely think that there could be some, some
Did you see
movement there.
Gavin Newsom this week on the reservoirs? Some reporter, a friendly reporter, asked him, "Oh, what about the reservoir controversy? I hear the reservoirs were empty." And he goes, "No, they're all full. All the reservoirs were full. I don't know. These people, they're trying to smear me." And the reporter actually came back and goes, "Well, what about these pictures of the reservoir above the Palisades where there was no water in it?" And he's like, "That's exactly why I have demanded an investigation into that reservoir." It was fast. The man is
Jeez.
skilled. He is a lizard. That he literally turned
Snake.
right around and said,
I
"And
mean,
that
if
is
he was
why."
actually from another planet, it would not be shocking to me.
I mean, we say this often on the show. Like, if you were to make a movie villain in a lab, he would look like Gavin Newsom. I cannot think of a more villainous looking dude than Gavin
I
Newsom.
mean, number one, dude.
Yeah. He'd be a good villain, actually. He's probably a good actor. Well, he is a good actor. Let's get into the Twilight Zone now.
Oh gosh, I need to
Josh.
decide.
What do you
Well,
got?
first, I mean,
I got a
real
bunch.
quick, I actually have two, but the first one I wanted to say, apparently RFK is going to have a new favorite restaurant. Did you hear about this?
I did. Yeah.
Steak and Shake is going to use 100% beef tallow, no cap.
No cap.
No cap.
No cap. Now, my favorite thing to do is anytime I see anything RFK related, I will just quote tweet with this picture.
Oh, I
It's
love
like
that.
RFK Jr. in the dark.
From the shadows, RFK.
Yeah.
Beef tallow.
Now, I
No red
always
dye 30.
I always thought this was the most obvious, easiest marketing pitch ever. I guess I don't fully understand how the supply chains, how this would affect like machinery or whatever in these places. People have been calling for this so long. The first person to move on this could reap serious rewards.
And
Like,
I think
Steak and
they
Shake will
will.
be back.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
I don't
good.
know
Who's
why,
another
like
one?
someone
There we
else,
go.
like one of the, I mean, Steak and Shake is sort of like a fast casual restaurant. Why isn't someone like a Wendy's stepping forward and doing this too? We'll have to see. But, the other thing I wanted to make note of, and this just came down the pike, an hour before we started recording, President Biden decided he thinks he can use social media to amend the Constitution. He tweeted out, "Today I'm affirming what I've long believed and what 3/4 of the states have ratified. He's saying that the Equal Rights Amendment is now law because he's decided it is. Okay, so no, that's not how this works. When Congress passed the Equal Rights Amendment, both houses of Congress back in like 1972, they put a term limit on it, like a time frame. It's got to get done within 7 years. And then as that time limit was coming close, Congress decided to give it another extension to 1982. Well, what happened? Phyllis Schlafly, again, underrated, heroic woman, awesome. She's going back to these states and stopping it dead cold in its tracks, and even got a few states to reverse course and say, never mind, we're reversing a repeal. Mm-hmm. And so what ended up happening is in 2009 or whatever it was, Virginia passes the Equal Rights Amendment, and like these feminists online are like, hey, this is an idea. We'll get to 35 states, and then we'll 37. And then everything will be fine. 38 states. I keep forgetting what it is. It's like, no. That's not how it goes.
Wait, can I get a refresher on what the Equal Rights Amendment is again?
Oh my gosh. It's so depressing.
Well, the language of it is just that no one will be discriminated on the basis of sex. But of course, the implication is every time you've had an Equal Rights Amendment passed on state levels, like New Mexico, it immediately means you have a constitutional right to an abortion, and that you can't make any distinctions between humans on the basis of sex. So, we have women in combat now, which I think I'm not the biggest fan of. Okay. But 30 years ago, when we didn't have any of that, we'd be like, well, we treat everyone equally under the law, but that doesn't mean we treat people who are different sex the same, because they're not. Mm-hmm. But again, they want to wash away all distinctions so they can have men and women's sports, that women can get abortions unlimited. You can't restrict anything. The Equal Rights Amendment, we don't need it. We have the 1964 Civil Rights Act,
Civil Rights Act
prevents mm-hmm. discrimination on the basis, for hiring practices, for renting out a hotel, whatever it is, starting.
That's strange. It feels like that's happened for a while now. What are you talking about?
But again, this is just like you get this fever pitch on the internet where we'll just have the archivist of the Constitution say it's now part of the Constitution. And the archivist is like, yeah, no, that's not how that works.
No, I can't do that.
And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, before she kicked the bucket, she's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. You have to start it all over again. You need Congress to pass it again. So like she is the leftist icon on all things. And she's like, yeah, no.
Right. Well, over. I mean, one more full circle. This is just like the last dying spasms of the convulsing failed presidency of Joe Biden. And it's just like, we're going to throw all of the stuff out and we're just going to smash it. It's a toddler temper tantrum.
Totally.
And thank God it'll be over in 3 days.
A toddler temper tantrum is a good way of putting how people.
I have a lot of those, so.
Yeah, we're familiar with them. Erica, your Twilight Zone.
Oh man, I have so much. Okay, I'm following up on the LA fires. You've heard of the smelt, the little fish for which we cannot get water to LA. It turns out that it wasn't just about the little fish. In 2019, the story just broke. The LA Department of Water and Power began replacing nearly 100-year-old power line poles. I mean, the infrastructure in LA is so old. So they're cutting through the Topanga State Park and they're replacing these power line poles because they're a fire hazard because they're rotting dry wood, and they're clearing out shrubs and brush because it's a fire hazard. And conservationists were outraged because the federally endangered Broughton's milk vetch plant was being trampled during the process. And to read the letters of these conservationists, they actually succeeded in halting this project to clear the brush around the Palisades. This, because of the ancestral milk vetch, I can't even say it, milk vetch plant. And to read this, they were triumphing over it. They were holding up these little shrubs in 2019 saying, this is the roaring milk vetch and you will listen to it. And you're like, yeah, I think it's roaring now. Like, it's on fire. It is on fire. And it's just another, along with the smelt, we have saved the milk vetch and destroyed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. And then they get mad at us for saying that those fires were preventable. If not preventable, we could have done a lot to mitigate the damage there. And again, our prayers are just going out to everyone in the LA area. I have friends who've had to evacuate, lost family homes. Peachy Keenan, shout out to you for documenting on there. It's a terrible thing, and all for the love of the milk veg plant.
Well, our prayers continue to go out for the long-suffering people of LA. They need new leadership, though. Man.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Erica, you removed something from Twilight Zone that I need to reinstitute
Okay.
because it's hilarious.
I had like 5 Twilight Zones. I was
hoping
really
you go with this
struggling
one, and I'm
okay,
bringing it back.
We can go with it. We can go with it. I'm ready.
All right. So I have so the progressive Hill staffers have spoken. Okay? Hill staff on the progressive people are asking now for a 32-hour work week. We write today to encourage you to consider adopting a proposal that would improve worker satisfaction, increase staff retention in Congress, and model a more sustainable approach to work on a national level. Now, this went like nuclear viral, 16.1. And I have a suggestion. I say they haven't gone enough. They should go to a 0-hour work week for all the progressive Hill staffers and their Congress people.
I like it. I mean, I was shocked that they had even any work week at all, given the stats that people on the Hill are only in the office, 10% of the time.
Well,
so
just the congressmen are, the congressmen are. No, I mean, there's the members of Congress aren't in their office a lot. They're at committee meetings for, and then they go back to their districts or whatever. But the staffers are there a good 50 plus hours a week. That actually is true. They grunt it out. They don't get paid much. They usually get subsidized by their parents because the rents are expensive. Yeah, but no one feels any pity or sorry for them because then after a while, they've been doing it for 2-3 years. Then they punch their ticket and they cash out and they get a nice cushy lobby job. So, I mean, that's why big crocodile tears. Oh, you only want to work 35
boo-hoo.
Oh, boo-hoo.
I mean, I can't think of a worse time to propose this too.
Just read the room, people.
Like after you just get
wait
smoked.
a few weeks.
Progressives got smoked, lost the popular vote, lost everything. Trump's coming in, energy, ready to go. And progressives like, we need to work less.
I think that's a great idea. And in fact, over the last 4 years, every time Joe Biden would go to Rehoboth Beach or Delaware just to relax, I'm like, please, more time on vacation. The less you can screw things up.
And one of my favorite Kim Kardashian quotes, no one wants to work anymore.
Yeah.
I will apply that to this situation.
I did not have quoting Kim Kardashian on my bingo card for this episode, but we did check that box. Thank you, Tom.
No problem. I am an enigma wrapped in another enigma. Erica, did you have another one before?
Well, I did want to follow up.
You almost said it. You're an enigma wrapped in a puzzle. That was Churchill's description of Russia. Who sold us Alaska? But anyway.
Oh, got you.
Someone gave me props for Ponce de Leon today, so you can shove it. All right, we're even. And I got more history coming. Don't worry. Here we go, Erica.
All right, last one. I just want to. This is a follow up on Greenland because everyone likes to talk about Greenland. Josh, future ambassador to Greenland, very excited for you.
True.
We've got the people have spoken, right? The Danish guy last week said, well, it's going to be up to the people of Greenland, whether they want to stay with us or be independent or what have you. And sure enough, we have a new survey coming out from Patriot Polling released Sunday. And it turns out almost 60% of Greenland residents approve becoming part of the United States of America. Only 37.4% disapproved of the potential acquisition. So I don't know, Donald Trump, they're rolling out the welcome carpet for you there, bud. It's got to fly on up. But I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, why wouldn't you?
So
America's
Erica,
great.
Did you see the hit piece that didn't take off on this?
No.
So I think it's now he's a part of Trump's team, but Don Jr. went over to Greenland.
Yeah.
And someone was trying to write a hit piece and sent a text asking for comment. And the question was, what do you say to the accusations that Donald Trump Jr. went and rounded up homeless people on Greenland, gave them MAGA hats, and then brought them around the cameras to make it appear as though they have support? And then pretty quickly the guy shot back, are you really suggesting to me that Don Jr., who had cameras on him the entire time, went around and do you have a source for this? Like, what's the source that, an anonymous hotel manager said this was true? Like, yeah, I'm not going to give you, my comment is this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever received. And then he posted it online and everyone was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my
Crazy.
goodness. That's hilarious. How many homeless people are there in Greenland?
I don't know, but apparently they got MAGA hats.
Well,
And
I want a MAGA hat.
poll confirms the opposite. All right, I have a couple. My first one, our silent night is back in the streets. a picture of Daniel Penny back in the subways. First off, I mean, we got to talk about the drip here. I mean,
And he's not doing Bitcoin.
right.
He's reading a book, like a concrete book, not concrete, a book, like a real book. No
what a
phone.
flex.
On paper.
Great.
Yeah.
Rocking the babushka, got the cool pants, got the boots. I mean, just great to see
We're
our
in the
silent
hood, so
night.
he's not easily identified because he's got like that, ancient look to him with that perm or whatever the curls.
Oh yeah, you got the perm. I mean, if you want to talk about the opposite of Gavin Newsom, no one's ever looked more like a hero than Daniel Penny.
I want to know what book he's reading.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you saw
Try
it.
zooming in. What is it?
I can't. I don't think I can enhance like Jarvis,
Yeah,
but
it fuzzed out when I did that. But
I don't know if you saw in Philadelphia. I think someone on the sidelines was reading a self-help book. It was their wide receiver, and then sales just shot through the roof. This would be the same situation, like if someone found out what book he's reading.
yeah,
But anyway, great to see. Made me feel comfortable. The other one I had was a little bit longer. Basically, it was Jim Acosta got on.
I did not see this. I want to hear it.
I knew I would get Josh with this one. So Jim Acosta, famous for being a CNN anchor right now. He did typically what people who are good at their jobs have to do. They don't have to get on TV and tell people that they're good on at their jobs, but Jim Acosta did so. And so here's the clip of Jim.
I want to take a moment to talk about something President Biden said during his farewell address. He warned the free press is crumbling in this country. I would add that's only if we, the people, let that happen. Journalists exist to seek the truth, to tell people's stories, to lift up voices that may not be heard otherwise, to shine a light on injustice, and to hold the powerful accountable. We are not the enemy of the people. We are the defenders of the people. Walter Cronkite once said, freedom of the press is not just important to democracy, it is democracy.
Oh, no.
I want to take a moment to show you something. A woman sent me this sign 8 years ago. She carried it here at a march in Washington. She wrote on the back of the sign, to me and the press here in D.C., you have our support.
Oh,
to Nora, wherever you are, right back at you. Reporting from Washington.
Now, again, people that are good at their jobs typically don't have to talk about how good they are, but notable lies from Jim Acosta. Biden's mental acuity, sharp as a tack. The Hunter Biden laptop story, pretty wrong on that one. COVID vaccine effectiveness, illegal immigrant numbers. I mean, there's actually not much he didn't lie about. Now, that in itself would kind of be embarrassing enough. However, he was rewarded by CNN right after the monologue. He's now been booted to the midnight to 2 a.m. block on CNN.
Oh, that's a come down.
Won't be seeing a whole lot of Jim.
Bye, Jim.
That was a good farewell. Now, TikTok's been banned. That's some breaking news that happened this morning. The Supreme Court upheld the TikTok ban, citing national security concerns. Now, the funniest and so interesting, Biden says he's not going to enforce it, and then Trump says he's going to try to negotiate a deal. So it's like an interesting power play at this point. One thing that I find the most interesting is that now the Chinese are basically reverse concerned about Americans getting onto RedNote because they're like tainting Chinese people. Because
their ideas are dangerous.
So this could be the 21st century version of the Opium Wars. We could destroy China. Hear me out. We send the TikTokers that are thirst trapping and dancing and doing all that stuff, all the addictive stuff. We send them under RedNote. The Chinese get addicted to it. We destroy them from within.
I think this is a great idea. This is great. I mean, it's going to be whack-a-mole, right?
This is 21st century opium. We know what we're talking about. I have a direct quote. Chinese officials raised the issue with RedNote's government relations team earlier this week, warning that the company needs to ensure China-based users can't see posts from U.S. users. So I have another tweet on a potential. This is how I potentially see it going. CCP creates TikTok, designed to groom libs into subversives. U.S. bans TikTok. Subversives move to new Chinese app. They're telling the Chinese to unionize. They're spreading gay propaganda. They're calling for China to open its borders. This is 21st century opium wars, guys. Yeah. I was struck by that back in the day, but instead of the UK, it's going to be America, baby. We're taking them out. All right, that's what I got. Man, inauguration is going to be sick.
I know. You guys pumped? Are you excited to go?
I'm
It's gonna be
excited.
like negative 20 degrees.
Yeah, but I'm
Needs
built.
Viking gear.
I'm built for the cold.
Yeah, you are. So
That's
is Josh.
Come on, you zero concerned about me or Josh. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna. I am genuinely curious. So I'll go, and then on Wednesday I will have all my thoughts. Josh will have all your thoughts. I'm excited and nervous because I just don't know what the energy is gonna be. I feel like it's just gonna be totally different than 2016 and 2020, of course, because that was a weird inauguration with COVID and all that. So I'm excited to see the sights and to do the things.
I want to
So
see
it goes.
Melania's dress. I'm excited.
No, I'm actually going for Carrie Underwood for real. Who are we kidding? Saw my first concert in 2016. Never looked back, dude.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Full circle.
That was pretty awesome. Amazing Grace coming at you. So if you want to help out the show, subscribe here on YouTube. That's where you're going to be able to see that kind of content, and it helps us out a lot in the show. You can join the Champions Club. Best way to support us, catholicvote.org/champions. If you want to support our work here at Catholic Vote, the Loopcast specifically, that's where you can do it. We appreciate everyone who's already a champion. And I just appreciate you guys. Appreciate the host. Appreciate the audience. Such a blessing to do this show. Really enjoy being here with you guys Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So no show on Monday, but we will have a show on Wednesday, chock full with observations from our experience. So until then, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys on Monday. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Pray for us, and we'll see you then. Have a great day.